The jackpots continue to soar. Go to any New York Lottery retailer today for your chance to win the Powerball jackpot or play for your chance to win the Mega Millions jackpot. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Call the Hope Line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY.
Why are more women than ever choosing Natural Cycles? The hormone-free, side-effect-free way to take control of your fertility. Natural Cycles is a birth control app that uses your temperature to find your fertile window. It is more than a basic cycle tracking app. Natural Cycles is the only FDA-cleared and CE-marked birth control app and has helped millions prevent and plan for pregnancy naturally. Save 15% when you sign up today with code RADIO15. Learn more at naturalcycles.com.
Went to my students, I said, look, I got this audition, I'm not right for it, but I'm going to do whatever I can, just do the best I can. Sometimes the goal is to do the least embarrassing job you can do.
Welcome to Story and Craft. Now, here's your host, Mark Preston.
All right, here we go, another episode of Story and Craft. Welcome back. I'm Mark Preston, and glad to have you here. If this is your very first episode, welcome. Glad to have you here. Today, we are sitting down with actor Ntare Guma Mbaho Mwine. You might know him from The Shy. He was also in Treme, The Lincoln Lawyer. The new show on Apple TV you can check him out in right now is called Smoke. It is with Taron Egerton, Journey Smollett, Greg Kinnear, John Leguizamo. It is out right now and coming up soon, I believe in just a few weeks, the new season of Dexter, Resurrection. You can check him out there, as well as Washington Black, which is coming out on Hulu soon as well. Do me a favor if you would. I always ask, small favor, pop on over to your podcast app. Make sure to follow Story and Craft. That way, new episodes come out, you get notified, leave a review, some stars, whatever have you, helps people to find the show. Also, everything you could possibly want to know about the show, just go to storyandcraftpod.com. Also, if you enjoy what we got going on here, you can support the show. Got some links there for you. Little coffee cup and stuff at the bottom. You click on it, it'll tell you what to do. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right on into it. Today is Ntare Guma Mbaho Mwine Day, right here on Story and Craft. Where are you joining me from today?
I am in my dressing room at the Dexter Resurrection production office. So you might hear some background noise. That's the crew.
Are you in the LA area? Is that where you are right now?
No, we're in New York. The series is filming in New York. So we've been here since January. Made it through winter, now seeing into spring and summer. So
did the production just start there, or are y'all kind of midstream right now?
No, we're at the tail end. I actually just wrapped, and we have, I think, a week and a half left of filming.
So where are you from originally? Where do you hail from?
That's a great question. My parents are originally from Uganda. Both were my parents' parents, my parents' parents' parents, my parents' 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 parents were all from Uganda. I was the first in the family to be born outside the country in Hanover, New Hampshire, during my dad's last exam when he was at Dartmouth College.
Okay. So he came over here to do the college thing. That was what brought him this way.
Yeah, both of my parents came for their studies.
What did they come here to study?
They came for university. My dad was at Dartmouth College, where I was born, in Hanover, New Hampshire. And from there, he went to Harvard Law School in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I lived there for a little bit as a kid. So I grew up in the Boston area, then moved to Stockbridge in the Berkshires. My mom was a psychologist. She had gone to Boston University and went to Howard as well. So education was key for them.
Well, this begs the question. You have two academics or folks who went into law, psychology. So what was their feeling like, okay, our son's going to be doing the acting thing? Was that like, okay, cool. Or were they like, why are you not getting yourself a professional degree?
They've been really supportive throughout, although they might have been mystified at the onset. They were always engaged and curious. My parents came to see some of my plays when I was in college. When I was in grad school at NYU, my dad actually came and sat in on one of the classes. And that might have been a mistake on my part, because he was like, if you love this so much, you should find a way to pay for it yourself. So he had been helping me out at that point, but I just had to take out student loans to finish up my studies, because he was like, well, this is, we were all sitting around on the floor and doing our rolling around exercises. I know you interviewed one of my former schoolmates, Garrett Dillahunt.
Oh,
So
yes.
he might have run into Garrett in the hallways and been like, what the heck is this? But he was there. He came to see when I had a lead role at the Steppenwolf Theater and the Kennedy Center. My dad was there, flew from Uganda to come and see these productions. So although it was a shock, they were fully supportive and embracing.
What kind of law did or does your father practice?
My father, both of my parents have since passed.
Oh, okay.
My dad was a banker. He was the head of the legal department at the World Bank for a while, worked at the Kuwait Fund, head of, so he was a finance lawyer.
Did you pick up any, osmotically, did you pick up any kind of desire to like, okay, well, this law thing is kind of interesting, or psychology? Was there any kind of a draw at any time to something like that? Or was it always performance and being on stage and whatnot?
Well, I think psychology and acting, the arts, there's a close relationship. And so I've always interested in psychology. I used to read some of my mom's psych books that she had lying around during our summer breaks when she was in Nairobi. And that just keened my interest into the human psyche and how we work, why we keep engaging in self-destructive behavior, or, where inspiration comes from, all those things that that psychology sort of unravels.
Kind of helps you to, in the future of all the people you'll be working with, it's going to help you understand them as well,
Exactly.
You're the first gentleman I've had the opportunity to sit down with from Uganda, correct? Uganda?
Yes.
Is there any kind of a tradition there in the theater arts or performance or storytelling, or is there anything that is kind of organic that's just sort of part of the culture there?
Yeah. Storytelling is rich tradition. We come from an oral history tradition, and there's a thing called kwevuka, which takes place at weddings, where there's an orator who comes out, like the MC, and he'll just do these incredible, like off the riff, poems about the bride and groom and their journey. So I grew up going to weddings, traditional weddings, and seeing how stories and storytelling was vital and key part of our traditions.
It seems like a lot of great cultures that they have an oral tradition, and unfortunately, whenever you have a lot of colonial things going on, that kind of gets rid of a lot of that. That's part of the tactic, So it's good that they managed to kind of hold on to that aspect of storytelling and whatnot and history. You went to NYU, correct?
For grad school, yes. I went to University of Virginia for undergrad, and NYU for grad school. High school, I was in boarding school in Quebec. So I traipsed around a bit.
Were you studying acting? Was that the theater?
Undergrad, I was studying political science and theater. Theater was my major. Political science was my minor. And then for graduate school, I was at the MFA acting program at Tisch School of the Arts.
Were you going, okay, I want to do theater. I want to be on the stage. That's my jam. That's what I want to do. Or was there a destination like to be on screen where you're like, that's what I want to do?
Interestingly enough, in grad school, there was people that you thought would have a trajectory for film and TV. Everyone thought Garrett was, a movie star because he just had the look, he had the talent. And I don't know if you know his incredible singing voice. This guy can belt. I can't sing it worth a lick, even though 3 years of grad school and training.
Well, he's kind of initially a quiet guy when you talk to him. He's kind of a little, he kind of warms up. If I ever have a chance to speak with him again, I'm going to be like, dude, you held back. You didn't tell me about the singing thing.
He did. I can't sing. I have 2 left feet. And I think a lot of people thought I was going to fare better on film and television for some reason, maybe my voice as well. But right when I got out of school, I couldn't crack a job in film and TV. It was all theater. I was just doing theater all the time. My first job was, when I first got out of school, I was auditioning for like Oliver Stone, some Woody Allen film, like a bunch of like great films. I didn't get any of them. The first job I ended up getting was the national tour of 6 Degrees of Separation, which had just been on Broadway. And so I spent a year traveling around the country, going from LA to San Francisco to Washington, D.C., to all the major, Philly, all the major cities, performing the play for a year.
If you were to go back into your resume and go, okay, this was the first time when it's not that the bug bit you, but where you're like, okay, I'm feeling good about this. This role's meaty. This is satisfying why I decided to become an actor. I mean, what was that first big role for you if you were to go back in time?
That was my first job. I got extremely lucky that my first job was a lead role in a Broadway play, doing 6 Degrees of Separation. I didn't realize how lucky I was until after the fact, when the other things that came afterwards weren't quite as juicy. But yeah, I was really fortunate. My first break was a lead role in a Broadway show.
Where do you live full time? Do you live in New York full time now, or?
I've been in New York since January filming on Dexter Resurrection, but I'm based in Los Angeles.
Is there any pull for you to, because now with technology and being able to connect, have meetings, audition, whatever have you, you can live anywhere. Is there any draw for you to make your way to Africa? Does that feel like home base in a way because of your parents? Or does this really feel more like home for you?
I feel like a child of both worlds. And I've been fortunate as a result of technology, as you said, to be able to book jobs from Uganda, recording them in my mom's bathroom. Send it to my agent, and then fortunately the Wi-Fi was strong enough to send that audition and ended up booking a job. So yeah, we're living in an age where you're not necessarily tied down to a particular location, but LA has been home for a while. Both of my kids were born there. We were thinking of my wife's family's from New York, and so when I got this job here, she thought, this is a sign, we should be moving back to New York. I've always wanted to be closer to the family. And I was open to it because I was like, yeah, I'm going to be possibly working here for the next few years. But one taste of winter.
Yeah.
when the kids both
you're talking to a guy who's got 100 steps to the beach. So no, cold weather is not my jam. Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten soft. I mean, I grew up in New England, but now if it gets to 65 degrees, you might as well. I mean, I'm just soft. I got to turn the seat heaters on in the car. It's just,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, now I use the seat heaters for my back is bothering me. And it's like use them as a heating pad more than I am to warm up, Yeah. Now, how old are your kids?
6 and 8. How about yours?
So still young. Oh, my. I've got a 22-year-old, a 20, and a 19-year-old. And the 22-year-old just graduated last year, is teaching school in New Orleans, and my son's about to graduate. And
congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, he's graduating. They both knocked it out in a year, 3.5 years. My youngest, my 19-year-old who's down here with me, she's like, yeah, I just realized, because she did some studying in Barcelona, she just realized she's on a 3-year program, but she found out that she can actually graduate a semester early because she's got these extra credits. I'm like, these kids are way smarter than me. That's so intimidating when you realize your kids are brighter than you are. It
means you've done a good job.
Well, I hope so. I hope my fingers are crossed. But hey, I always end up talking food at least one time during my show, during each episode. But I'm curious, what's like a quintessential Ugandan dish? Like being from Texas, somebody said, what's a uniquely Texas dish? So like chicken fried steak, something like that. What is something Ugandan? What is something quintessential Ugandan?
Well, funny enough, you mentioned Texas, which is known for the longhorn cattle. And the longhorn cattle are said to have begun in Uganda, the Ankole cow.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, that's like the origin. So Uganda is actually close to Texas in terms of meat and potatoes kind of fare. They have a thing, rather than potatoes, they have this thing called matoke, which is steamed bananas. Not the yellow banana like we know, like green banana, which is steamed, and that's like the base, that's like the potatoes.
Right. It's your starch, basically, yeah.
Yeah, all kinds of stews, beef stew, chicken stew, peanut stew, fish stew would dress the dish, and then all sorts of greens. So you'd feel at home if you were in Uganda.
That's one thing I love about doing this. I end up learning something pretty much every time. Something I didn't know. Longhorn cattle coming from Uganda. That is very cool. In fact,
Yeah.
there's a little, because I live on an island where they've got a little, like zip lining and horseback riding. There's, stuff for folks to do. And they have some longhorn cattle there. And my daughter and I just happened to drive by, and I'm like, I realized I grew up in Texas, been for, my whole life, never actually was up close and personal with a longhorn steer there. I'm like, oh, okay, this is what they look like up close and personal, And my family went to the University of Texas, so that's their mascot. So, I got to tell them there's something I learned.
I'm actually heading to Texas, and Uganda there's a Ugandan convention in Austin.
Really?
So
Okay.
Just to make it clear, to drive home the connection between Uganda and Texas.
There's
a Ugandan Ankole conference about longhorn cattle and their tradition and cultures in Austin, Texas, the weekend of June 19th.
Now, if you're a beef eater, you got to check out, which I've never been there. I've tried to go there, but they have a long line usually. But it's a place called Franklin Barbecue. People start lining up in the morning for lunch, and they're usually sold out, I think, by like 3 p.m. or something. But the last time I was in Austin was during COVID, so everything was out of kilter there. But if you go there, that's the station on the cross you got to hit when it comes to barbecue in Texas. And I always do the show before I have lunch, so I'm like hungry thinking about it.
Well, but glad to whet your appetite. I'm actually an anomaly because I'm one of the few people of Ugandan descent who are actually a vegan. So they don't understand, like no dairy even. So
really, I was going to ask you, I was like, well,
turn my back on the cow.
We're getting an education on Uganda. Was it ever a colonial? Was there ever any kind of European, it seems like Africa's been littered with all these, once upon a time, former fill in the blank colony or whatever. Did Uganda ever have any kind of colonial influence at all?
I'm fortunate to be able to trace my family lineage over 500 years. My father was part of the royal family of Ankole. So our story begins before the British even set foot in Uganda. There are kingdoms throughout the country, and it wasn't considered a country. It was just kingdoms throughout the country, which were splintered into the continent was carved up by foreigners, and a lot of conflict resulted in a place. But there was a brief period where the British were there, but my history traces back further than that. All of our cell phones, the coltan comes from Congo, still happening to this day. It's like a lot of the vital minerals are being used to fuel this conversation that we're having.
The dichotomy of enjoying the benefit of this, but going, okay, we got this because fill in the blank. It's a bunch of knuckleheads, but it's such a rich and interesting history. Whenever I have an opportunity to speak with someone from that neck of the woods, I always find it very interesting to learn. I've only had Ethiopian food one time, and where I live now, they don't really have a big diversity of different kind of cuisines. And I'm going, okay, I want to try. I love trying different stuff. It's the cheapest way to travel in my mind. You met your wife. Were y'all in New York when y'all met, or were you in LA?
We met in Los Angeles at the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. They have a Friday night jazz series, and I saw her across the way and caught my eye and just went up and said hello, and now we have 2 kids.
Very nice. So is she in the industry as well?
No, not at all. She works in fashion, sort of behind the scenes, doing she manages the sort of the website, the online portal for a fashion company. So anytime you hover your mouse, they track everything.
You mentioned the jazz thing. Speaking of jazz, is that something you're really into? Or is jazz kind of your jam?
Yeah. And my son, we named his middle name is Coltrane. He's a big John Coltrane fan.
I spent 20 years. I'm from Dallas originally, but I spent the last a little over 20 years in New Orleans. I know there's the Chicago jazz scene. There's the New Orleans jazz scene. There's different pockets, but was there any specific, besides John Coltrane, were there any kind of genres of jazz that you find are kind of really grab you?
I spent 4 years working in New Orleans on this TV series Treme, So I got a
Oh,
nice.
wait! I did not even see that. You know what? I auditioned for that a few times. That was a great production. And
Yeah.
what was Treme like for you? Because that was a big show in New Orleans, and it really captured, I think, kind of the flavor of New Orleans a little bit more realistically, than a lot of stuff out there. Well, what was that experience like for you?
No, there's no better way than sort of discovering a city than being on a show sometimes, because you get window into access into things that you might not necessarily see. I played a sous chef, so I got to hang out in all these great restaurants and the kitchens, and would always get carte blanche whenever we would go out to fine dining. And of course, the music scene is unparalleled. We were filming there the year the New Orleans Saints won the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
It felt like you were in the center of the universe.
There was a lady who was the chef, right? And that was kind of the storyline. Okay, see, I know.
Dixon's played the chef, and I played her sous chef on the show.
Okay. Now it's coming back to me. I don't always trust my memory, but God, I'm trying to think the director I auditioned for. Again, I try to remember names. Tall guy, actor, who was married to Susan Sarandon. I'm drawing a blank on it. Okay, his name will come to me. I remember, if you remember Second Line. Tim Robbins. Yeah, he brought me back in for a call back, and it was over at Second Line Stages or Second Line Studios. It was such a great show, and it really, for a moment, because this is post Katrina, it captured a lot of what was going on very accurately. As far as the impact of the storm and what it had on the city and the resonating effects, which kind of today are still going on, but some of the people who created The Wire, I think, were involved in that, if I'm not mistaken.
David Simon, was who brought Eric. Those guys, the same guys from The Wire, were the ones who were behind Treme.
It's always been diet and exercise. Why not diet, exercise, brush, and floss? Or how about diet, exercise, brush, floss, and see your dentist for regular exams? It may not roll off the tongue, but there are far worse things that could be rolling off your tongue, right down to your heart. Like the very same bacteria that's linked to heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and more. And by the way, to find a dentist nearby, visit smilegeneration.com/confidence today. And learn more about how oral health links to overall wellness so you can live longer, healthier, and happier with confidence unleashed.
The jackpots continue to soar. Go to any New York Lottery retailer today for your chance to win the Powerball jackpot, or play for your chance to win the Mega Millions jackpot. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Call the Hope Line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY.
Hey, it's Mark Preston, and I would like to tell you a little bit about one of our sponsors, X-Chair. Whether you're working from home or in the office, if you have a job or a task that has you sitting for a long period of time, this is the chair for you. Very comfortable, very customizable. They'll make it pretty much any way you want it. The look, the feel, the fabrics, everything. Plus, this is the kind of chair you can adjust to make it fit you just right. No matter your body type, it's spot on. I love my X-Chair. It has the Elemax cooling, heating, and massage technology. It is going to make your lower back feel so very good. Got to throw a little bit of love to X-Chair. It's the chair I'm sitting in every time I talk to a guest. So I've had a lot of time to have my tush in this chair, and the tush, the back, everybody's happy. Just go to storyandcraftpod.com/chair. Once again, X-Chair, check it out, storyandcraftpod.com/chair. Love my X-Chair. Your back will thank you. The Smoke Project, how did that come along? Was it just kind of one of your situations where, come in an audition, or did somebody reach out to you and go, hey, we got this thing happening we want you to be a part of?
Funny enough, I teach at USC, a class where we do like self-tape auditions and make short films, and I try to talk them through the process of whenever I get an audition. And I got this audition for Smoke, and the character is so far removed from any experience I've ever had or anything I could even imagine what life would be like. Dennis Lehane describes the character as the loneliest man on the planet. So I went to my students. I said, look, I got this audition. I'm not right for it, but I'm going to do whatever I can, just do the best I can. Sometimes the goal is to do the least embarrassing job you can do. So that was my goal, was just to do the least embarrassing. So I showed them the self-tape that I did, I was like, I don't know. Then I got a callback, told them about the callback. I was like, I have no idea what they saw, but here's what I'm going to do for the callback. And I did the callback, and I think it was the fastest response I've ever gotten to like a job, like within the hour or so.
Really?
All like saying, and it's for a series regular role, like a starring role. Usually that have to gets cleared by the network.
Yeah. I was about to say those kind of things usually are. So they just called you up, and said, "Dude, you nailed it."
Luckily, Dennis Lehane's got a little bit of clout, so he's a I think he's got full carte blanche to do whatever not do whatever he wants, but he can clearly make the call. So it was just through an audition that I didn't think I had a shot at getting, and somehow landed the role.
But where do you fit in terms of the storyline, without giving anything away, if you would?
Yeah. Dennis Lehane told me, because I was like baffled. I was like, I don't know. I don't have a window into this character. I can't even imagine what this guy went through, because he's gone through hell and back, basically. And he just told me that he's the loneliest man on the planet. There's a huge void there, and we discover the very nefarious ways he goes and steps he takes to fill that void. Yeah, the story is ultimately about love, loss, and revenge. So we get to see my character sort of go through that arc.
Where did y'all shoot this, by the way?
We shot it in Vancouver.
Seems like a lot of folks I speak to these days are all like, yeah, Vancouver. Vancouver comes up. Apparently there's a hotel where everybody seems to stay at in Vancouver of all the different productions going on, from what I understand.
Yeah. We shot it in Vancouver. It's incredibly gorgeous up there. We shot through springtime, March through July, I think it was. So it was just stunning, to be up there during that time of year.
I've never been to Vancouver, but everybody I speak with these days seems to have done a swing through Vancouver. Mm-hmm. You've done this for a while. Are you at a point like
card 97? I think it was, or not 95. Sorry, I think it was 95. I can tell you the exact date: January 27th, 1995. Crazy.
I still remember. My first was actually for doing voiceovers to a GTE commercial with Patrick Stewart. It was just, but hey, however you get it. So, but you've been doing it long enough to where now you kind of have a sense of like what you want to do, what you haven't done that you want to do, or something you have done you want to, be a film or TV or a series or directing or anything. Is there anything on the radar you're like, God, I have not done this. I want to do this, or I want to do it again?
I gotta confess, some of the biggest jobs I've got, just like Smoke or even on The Shy, were things were not on my radar, were not something I thought was in even my wheelhouse, that I didn't think I had the skill set to do. So, funny enough, the things that I think I'm right for, I haven't got, but the things I'm like not even remotely close to the character for, somehow they end up, landing at my doorstep. So I am open to being pleasantly surprised, because my own personal expectations have not. I'm still not sure what they saw in some of the. I'm still baffled, like some of the things I've landed.
Isn't that a weird paradigm? I mean, I know I've done stuff where like, you kind of walk it going, well, that was an audition. I mean, I don't think anything of it. And then you book it. And then the other ones, you're like, I nailed this thing. I was in the zone, and you don't get it. So it's just kind of this weird, what's that phrase? Man plans, God laughs kind of a thing. It's like you just got to go in and do the thing, and you get it. But, you've had a great constellation of stuff. The Shy, that's one thing I've not seen. It's on my list. So is Dexter. There are a few shows that are on the list, there's so much stuff out there these days that I haven't had a chance
impossible to keep up with everything.
Yeah, it is impossible. But there's so much, there's so much great stuff that, I'm almost embarrassed to say some things I haven't seen, but but Dexter, the reboot, I mean, it's not a reboot. This is the one where
it's a franchise now, various iterations of the show. So it's not a reboot. It's a literally franchise. It's like Star Trek has different iterations.
Yeah, true. Yeah. I lost track after a while. I was like, my son is big into the Marvel universe. I'm like, he tries to explain it to me. I'm like, my head hurts. I'm like, okay, can we, because this is the older guy and me going, can we just get a list in order of how I'm supposed to watch everything, By the way, what do your kids think, or have they, seen you on TV or in film or something, do they have any kind of feedback? Do they see you as an actor? Is it kind of weird for them to see you on screen?
I just came from seeing my daughter do a school play today, a play that her and her classmates, along with their teacher, wrote. They did the original story, did their costumes, and staged this things over several weeks, and I was blown away. It was just incredible. So my daughter has definitely got the sort of the bug. She likes to help me study my lines, like read through the script.
Okay.
And she even sometimes.
So you have a young reader, yeah.
Yeah, she likes to do rewrites too. She'll write her own version of the scripts. And my son
is this a 6-year-old or
the 8-year-old?
8-year-old, yeah. Okay.
But my 6-year-old is like a superstar. He's the kind of person my daughter is more reserved, and a bit more shy. But my son is the extrovert and walks into the room and all the focus goes to him. He's just like a superstar. So he has his own.
So which one were you more like when you were young? Were you more gregarious or were you more kind of in
No.
I
was the quiet kid on the fly on the wall. I preferred to be behind the camera, documenting all of our family occasions and sort of disappearing.
Do you have any brothers or sisters?
I do. I'm the eldest of 4.
Do they live in New York or in New England?
They're all over, in South Carolina, in LA, in Maryland. So we're all over the place.
But you're the only actor in the family, right?
Yes.
Usually it's just one odd kid out, that decided to do this thing, I'm curious though, like for your kids, have you had a chance to take them back to Uganda to show them to educate, or are you waiting till they're just a little bit older to appreciate it a little bit more?
No, my daughter's been 3 times. My son's been twice. Both the kids were baptized in Uganda. So we have a strong connection at home.
Do you still have a big extended family out that way?
Yes, very big extended family that welcomes us with open arms every time we come back. So it's been really great to have my kids forming their bond with their cousins over there and connecting with food. Like there's nothing like fruit and vegetables in Uganda. When you go there and you taste a mango or even, and you come back to the States, you're just like, it tastes like paper here compared to
I know a lot of our produce is more bred to be more durable, if you will, for lack of a better way of putting it, when it gets into the grocery and make it I think the phrase is bulletproof or something like this thing about tomatoes or whatever. And it's funny because I grew some of my own tomatoes once, a couple times, one very unsuccessfully, one I got some, I'm like, wait a minute, this is a little bit different than what I'm getting at the grocery. I was like, wait a minute, so there's this whole other world out there, Do you do any kind of cooking or anything that like where you kind of keep that part of your culture alive around the house?
I'm very poor on the cooking front. My wife's got all the skill set on that. My daughter now is starting to make her own omelets, and I can make French toast.
Well, that's all that makes any difference in the world. It's a good Sunday morning, a stack of French toast. The kid's going to be plenty happy, Yeah. But where's your wife's family from, by the way? Is she does she have any connection to Uganda by any chance, or is she a straight up American kid?
Bed-Stuy, do or die.
Okay. Need say no more there, but so what do you have coming up next? What's the next thing you're working on that you can tell us about, what you got coming up?
I feel like I have this perfect trifecta of things that have been the biggest things I've ever worked on about to come out. One is this documentary, Memories of Love Returned, which I've spent the past 22 years working on. I was fortunate to have Steven Soderbergh come on as executive producer. It's been garnishing awards at festivals on multiple continents. Just screened in New York, screening in Washington, D.C. this weekend. That, and then my Smoke is premiering, the Apple TV series I'm starring on premieres at Tribeca. And then Dexter Resurrection is premiering on July 11th. So all three things will be on screen at the same time over the coming months. So
what you're trying to say is you're not busy at all. You're just kind of sitting around the house and
I couldn't be more grateful. I mean, we've gone through a huge structural change in the business after the double strikes. I have plenty of friends who haven't worked since before the strikes. So I'm counting my blessings to be busy at this point because it's really tough out there right now.
So now, when does the documentary come out? Memories of Love Returned, right? That's the name of it?
Yeah, it's been on the festival circuit since October of last year. It's screened from LA to New York to Washington, D.C. I was just up in the Berkshires last weekend. It was in London and Lagos, Nigeria, and Burkina Faso. So it's been doing quite the run. And hopefully it'll get some distribution so it can be seen by a wider audience beyond the festival circuit. It's
a Ugandan story, right? It's about a photographer, I think. I mean, pardon I'm trying to bring back what I read about it, but it's about a photographer's work or a studio or something like that that you explored. Is that kind of what it's about?
It's about Ugandan photographer Chibate Aloysius Salongo, whose work spanned from the 1950s up till 2006, or 5 decades of work. And he was a bit of a rock star in his region because he was the only photographer for his district. So thousands of people would come to his studio to be photographed. He would also travel to weddings. He had a motorcycle.
So this is a photographer of events and whatnot. He's not necessarily like an Ansel Adams out doing pastoral pictures and whatnot. This is actually somebody that recorded events and whatnot.
He would say of the Ansel Adams of portrait photography.
Okay.
Because he captured people in incredibly beautiful landscapes. There's a beautiful wedding photograph of this couple. They're standing on a grass thatched mat, and in the background is just miles of horizon of this, almost like an Ansel Adams photograph where you see this mountain range way in the background and these rolling hills. So he captured not just incredible photos of people celebrating moments of love, but also captured them in their natural environments, in addition to shooting them in their studio. And I had mounted a large-scale outdoor exhibit of his work, the first exhibit of its kind in his village, which displayed over 5,000 images. And you can imagine how all of us carry our thousands of photos on our phones, and imagine if we've all lost our photos somehow or not. But imagine if 5 decades worth of phone photos were lost from a whole village, like from a whole town. And if those pictures somehow resurfaced.
So is that what happened? I mean, they like all of the body of his work was just nobody knew where it was and it just kind of resurfaced?
He was a portrait photographer in the sense that he would make his photos and give the prints to his subjects. He didn't have a public display of all of his work. He didn't have a book. He wasn't published. So this was the first time the community was getting to see this vast body of work, thousands upon thousands of images, and discovering long-lost family members, seeing people who'd passed, there was a young man, Johnson Makanga, whose father and mother had passed away at a young age, who had never seen a photograph of his parents before, and discovered that at the exhibit.
Was his impression of himself, was he just, okay, I'm a portrait photographer, that's what I do, but it seems like the story you're telling is he's like, again, he's kind of an archivist. He's kind of a storyteller a visual storyteller for,
I wouldn't say it was inadvertent. I don't know that would be a good way to describe him because he was an artist. He was intentional in his work and he loved what he did. And he managed to do it for 50 years and collected and kept his work and preserved it. Unfortunately, he passed away before I was able to share his work further. But this documentary is my way of keeping my promise to getting his work out there.
At California Psychics, we know that sometimes you can wake up thinking, I don't know if I'm in the right career. Ew. Or the right relationship.
But whatever your life dilemma, at California Psychics, we'll give you the guidance you need to feel certain about your life choices. And because we only connect you with the very best, we guarantee if your reading isn't life-changing, it's free. California Psychics. Call 1-800-PREDICT today and get 20 minutes for just $20.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Whether you love true crime or comedy, celebrity interviews or news, you call the shots on what's in your podcast queue. And guess what? Now you can call them on your auto insurance too with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive. It works just the way it sounds. You tell Progressive how much you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll show you coverage options that fit your budget. Get your quote today at Progressive.com to join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Before we get running, I always got what I call my 7 questions I like to kind of throw on the back end. We always talk, again, we've talked food a little bit earlier, but the first question I got for you is, what is your favorite, your comfort food? Something that just, good day or bad day, it just is what it makes you feel good.
You mentioned it earlier, Ethiopian food. Yeah, one of my favorite things to do is, wherever I am in the world, is to find the local Ethiopian restaurant, try it out, and then rate it and see, where it falls within the all the Ethiopian cuisines I've tried all over the world. Must say that the best has been, of course, in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
But there's been some, there's a great place in Brooklyn, I think Ross, vegan Ethiopian spot. That's like our Sunday tradition. Me and the family go to our favorite Ethiopian restaurant, Awash, in LA, and break bread together.
Yeah, I was a big fan of Anthony Bourdain. It seems like the peanuts are used a lot more in cooking there, which I think is kind of cool, but the breads as well, like the way I don't know, see, you can tell them I haven't had lunch yet because I'm getting hungry. I don't think they have it. I don't think there's a peanut dish in Ethiopian food that I'm aware of. But they use a lot of, beans and legumes, and that are my favorites. Well, I do have to say my only Ethiopian experience was when I was at Texas Tech University in Lubbock, Texas. So I don't know if that would be a hotbed of Ethiopian food necessarily. So I just remember there was.
I'll let you know when I go to Austin in a couple of weeks. But I know I've been to Austin before, and I found an Ethiopian restaurant there that I really loved. I can't remember the name of it, but
Austin's a great eating town.
Yeah.
Austin, it's just a neat place. I really love Austin. You're going to have a great time. The next question I got for you: if you're going to sit down at a table for a few hours, you're going to talk story with 3 people, so 4 of y'all at the table, living or not, who would you like to be sitting at that table with you talking story?
That's a great question. I have to say, one of the biggest influences on me was Gandhi, and his book, his autobiography, My Experiments with the Truth, really transformed my life. So I could say that he would be one. But these people, when you think about going back in time to try to talk to people, for me, that's always like, how would you explain to them, like, how things have transformed? You'd be trying to explain to them like how life has changed so much that I don't know that you'd have to almost go back in time to like do a clean slate so you could. So yeah, I don't even know if I went back.
I think some of those people probably if the ones that understood human nature very well and the way things can change, probably not saying could predict, but could go, yeah, I could see that coming. I can see you electing that guy or doing this thing, or, Gandhi or a lot of those folks understood the human condition, the good, the bad, the ugly, so maybe but yeah, it'd be kind of hard to explain. It's like, yeah, we got this phone thing here, which is, got all the information at our fingertips, yet we're somehow less educated. Don't know how that's possible. So Gandhi would be a wonderful one, but who else would you like to sit down with? That you think, not just with you, but it's kind of watching their conversation together as well.
Yeah, somebody I'm still in awe of is Paul Robeson, like how he managed to do what he did in the time that he did. The creative mind of Duke Ellington, like I love his autobiography, Music is My Mistress. I'm trying to think of people beyond artists, but artists are the ones coming to mind at the forefront. I had a chance to meet Anthony Bourdain when we were working on Treme.
Oh yeah, he wrote. Oh, he wrote the.
He wrote
the things that happened in the restaurant. He was actually writing that part of the screenplay, correct? Okay.
Yeah, so we got to meet, and he, if we're talking about people who've passed, and he sort of set the bar for those road shows, traveling around the world.
Well, I thought, in my mind, he was his own kind of poet, and there's a meme that's floating around that says he tried with all of his might to prove kind of like we're more alike than different, and to not be afraid of one another, that kind of a thing, culturally. And I think he, I just think he's one fellow I always wish I had an opportunity to speak. I had a chance to speak with a lot of folks who either worked with him or we're also, chefs who are known on TV and whatnot. But of course, writing was where he kind of broke out from just working in a kitchen.
Yeah.
But it kind of came full circle and brought it back, So did he have any input or feedback with you as far as, watching the performance and go, okay, this is kind of how you conduct yourself in the kitchen, because, it's its own culture. Those kitchens can be their own world. Did he have any advice for you whenever you were?
Yeah, his book on,
Kitchen Confidential?
Kitchen Confidential was my Bible during that time. I was just pouring through that, and the secrets he revealed in the book and also on set were just illuminating. Yeah.
Now, if we were to go back when you were a young man and you had your very first celebrity crush, somebody you saw, it's like, oh my God, I got it. Just hard to believe they exist in the world. I want to know them. Who was your first celebrity crush?
Wow. I'd have to say probably Janet Jackson. Yeah, I think that was probably one of the first.
Yeah, one of the first concerts I ever saw, I think, was her Black Cat tour.
I've never seen her in concert, but yeah, we're around the same age-ish. But I remember seeing her on when she was doing a lot of acting stuff as a kid. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. She did do a lot of acting. I forgot about that.
Different Strokes, was it?
You're going real old school. I was going.
I'm giving away my age. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Different Strokes. That was my Different Strokes and all that. That was when I was that was elementary school for me. Was it Thursday nights NBC must watch? Had to all those shows. Now, the next question I got for you: if you were to define like you're going to be living on an exotic island, a beautiful place you really love being, you're going to be there a whole year. So somewhere you want to be, but there's no streaming. So if you want to listen to music, you got to bring one CD or a box set. You can do that. And that you can listen to over and over again. The same thing with a movie you can watch over and over again. So what would that CD be? And what would that movie, that DVD be that you would bring with you to the island?
I think the artists I probably had on replay the most was Miles Davis. And if I had to choose one album, Porgy and Bess blows my mind every time I hear it.
What movie do you always go back to? Kind of one of those movies where if it comes on TV, you're just going to keep on watching it. You can watch it over and over and not really get tired of it.
Well, with two kids, my taste in TV viewing has been sort of pushed to the side. I can't even say what I watch. I don't have access to viewing my own viewing stats. It's really what the kids watch. But I've had the DVD set for a Homicide: Life on the Street that I've wanted to watch from beginning to end, and I haven't made it through the box set yet. So if I was on an island, I'd take that box set and try to.
Okay. I just talked to Reed Diamond the other day. He was, I believe he was on that. Yeah. Now, the next question I got, if you were to define, a perfect day from the time you get up to the time you go to bed, all the different, or just a few big component parts that go, okay, if this happens, that's a perfect day for me. What would that be?
A perfect day for me is being with my wife and kids in a whole, new surrounding, traveling with my camera in tow. We just came from the Berkshires just a weekend getaway where my film was screening, and I took the kids to where I grew up and my old stomping ground. And we stopped by a farm. They got to play with some calves. That was just so idyllic, and I was able to take pictures of those moments that I'll hopefully treasure at a later date if they're not wiped off the cloud. But yeah, I love traveling with my family. That's like the perfect day, is being out with them with no sort of responsibilities other than just taking in our surroundings and the food and the people and the places.
Wherever the wind blows you, just kind of, that's what you do. Yeah, those are the kind of days that I like. I think somebody I talked to a few weeks ago said it best: wake up without anything that you have to do. You just kind of wake up whenever you want, and then to see where the day takes you. Yeah, I like that. Now, if you weren't doing this, if the opportunity to act was not there for you, what else could you see yourself doing that would bring you joy, that you would enjoy?
Well, when I'm not acting, I'm behind the camera, and I get immense joy from being behind the camera, directing this film for the past 22 years, working on that. I'm like the family documentarian, so I don't know if that counts because it's still in the arts, but yeah, I know when I grow old and I'll still have a camera in tow.
Does it annoy your kids, like, oh, he's got to go tape, are they like, or do they kind of ham it up for the camera? Or are they kind of like, oh God, again, Dad with the camera thing?
They haven't got sick of me with the camera yet. We love to make like experimental films together. So they love that whole process of creating stuff for the camera.
Very cool. Luckily my two kids haven't tired of me yet either, so that makes me happy. Now, the last question I got for you, if you're to jump into that DeLorean and travel back in time, you're going to go back and have a few minutes with you at 16 years old, and you got a piece of advice to take that moment, make it a little bit better for yourself, or put yourself on a different track. What would that piece of advice be to 16-year-old you?
I had a similar question from that I just answered. I'll try to rehash it here, but to think of your life as an obstacle course, and that sometimes you'll be your greatest obstacle. That nothing's going to be handed to you. Don't expect things to be handed to you or the path to be easy. But if you think of this as like the greatest obstacle course you're about to endure and start, it'll make it all the more fun and enjoyable.
I like that. Yeah, it's funny. We do tend to get in our way, or we bring people into our life that try to get in our way, one of the two. Ntare, I so appreciate the opportunity to sit down with you. You're busy, clearly, with all the wonderful projects you got coming out, so I appreciate you sharing some time with me. But I wish you nothing but the best of luck, my friend. Hopefully you have a chance to catch up down the line, and I certainly appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, there you go. Ntare Guma Mbaho Mwine, my very first Ugandan guest. What a pleasure. Enjoyed sitting down and chatting with him. Busy guy. We talked about it. Dexter Resurrection coming out in just a few weeks. Though right now, the new show called Smoke is on Apple TV as we speak. So check it out. I got one episode in so far. My son and I were watching it the other day. So go check it out. It is good stuff. His character, it'll surprise you. I don't want to give anything away, though. No, I don't like spoilers. Do me a favor, if you would. Always request a little small favor. Pick up the podcast app. Make sure to follow the show. New episode comes out. Boom, you get a notification. Also, you can leave a review and some stars, which helps people to find the show. Also, storyandcraftpod.com, the website, everything you could possibly want to know about the show, it is all right there. Okay, I'm going to jump on out of here. Do me a favor, have a wonderful 4th of July weekend if you celebrate, if you were in the U.S., and have a safe weekend. Be careful with those fireworks. And as always, thank you so much for making what I got going on here part of whatever you've got going on. It means a lot to me. All right, thanks again for being here. We will see you next week right here on Story and Craft.
That's it for this episode of Story and Craft. Join Mark next week for more conversation right here on Story and Craft. Story and Craft is a presentation of Mark Preston Productions, LLC. Executive producer is Mark Preston. Associate producer is Zachary Holden. please rate and review Story and Craft on Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. You can subscribe to show updates and stay in the know. Just head to storyandcraftpod.com and sign up for the newsletter. I'm Emma Dillon. See you next time, and remember, keep telling your story.
At California Psychics, we know that sometimes you can wake up thinking,
I don't know if I'm in the right career. Or the right relationship.
but whatever your life dilemma, at California Psychics, we'll give you the guidance you need to feel certain about your life choices. And because we only connect you with the very best, we guarantee if your reading isn't life-changing, it's free. California Psychics. Visit CaliforniaPsychics.com today for limited time offers.
It's always been diet and exercise. Why not diet, exercise, brush, and floss? Or how about diet, exercise, brush, floss, and see your dentist for regular exams? It may not roll off the tongue, but there are far worse things that could be rolling off your tongue, right down to your heart. Like the very same bacteria that's linked to heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and more. And by the way, to find a dentist nearby, visit smilegeneration.com/confidence today and learn more about how oral health links to overall wellness so you can live longer, healthier, and happier with confidence unleashed.